"Sir, do you know your boat isn't insured for 12 passengers?" A flashlight in my neighbor's face. My name on the paperwork. I wasn't even there. My HOA president had thrown a private party on my boat while I was 3 states away burying my mother. I'm Mark Delgado, 44. A Navy veteran turned marina electrician, raising my teenage daughter alone in a quiet lakeside HOA in Michigan. Our HOA president, Denise Halloway, ran the community like her personal kingdom, finding neighbors for mailbox colors and lawn height. My 26-foot cabin cruiser, Second Chance, was the one thing I'd saved for after my divorce, docked at the community slip. Denise had asked twice to borrow it for HOA events. I always said no, politely, citing insurance and liability concerns. She'd smile tightly each time, then remind me who approved marina slip renewals every single spring. 3 weeks ago, my mother collapsed in Ohio. I packed a bag in an hour and left my daughter with my sister. Before leaving, I texted Denise only one thing: emergency out of state. Please don't touch anything at the marina. She replied with a single thumbs up. I should have known that thumbs up meant something entirely different in Denise's language. 2 days into the funeral arrangements, my neighbor Priya sent a photo. Strangers dancing on Second Chance's deck, music blasting. I called the marina office. The dockhand said Denise had board authorization and a spare key for maintenance records. I called Denise directly, voice shaking. She said it was just a small mixer for the HOA scholarship fundraiser. I told her to get everyone off my boat immediately. She laughed and said I was overreacting from grief. My daughter, only 15, drove to the marina alone and stood on the dock, crying, begging the guests to leave. Someone handed her a cup and told her to relax. This was official community business, approved by the president. I couldn't leave the funeral home. My father needed me. Denise knew exactly when I'd be too far to fight back. By nightfall, Priya texted again. The party had grown, 40 people now, coolers stacked on my fishing gear. I dialed the marina's after-hours line. No answer. Denise had somehow gotten the gate code changed that same week. My daughter called me sobbing, saying a man had fallen off the swim platform and nobody seemed to care. I told her to call 911 immediately and get away from the boat. Then I broke down in the funeral parking lot. The sheriff's office said it wasn't urgent enough to dispatch fast. Denise, turned out, played poker with the deputy's wife. I found out later she'd printed a fake community vessel use form with my forged initials copied from an old newsletter. My insurance agent called the next morning, confused why my policy showed a claim filed for guest injury aboard vessel. Denise had listed herself as authorized operator on the incident report before I even knew there'd been an accident. I buried my mother that Saturday, phone buzzing nonstop with messages from furious neighbors about noise complaints and broken bumpers. Someone had snapped my custom teak swim ladder trying to climb back aboard drunk. Nobody offered to pay for it. I came home to find beer cans still floating near the slip, and my daughter refusing to go near the marina. Denise sent a community-wide email thanking generous volunteers for hosting a successful fundraiser, never once mentioning it was my boat. For a few days, nothing happened. I focused on grief, my daughter, and quietly documenting every text and photo I had. Priya brought over lasagna and said half the neighborhood was furious too, just too scared to say it publicly. I filed a formal complaint with the HOA board, attaching screenshots, the forged form, and my daughter's shaky video. The board scheduled a meeting for 2 weeks out. Denise, conveniently, was named to review complaints against herself. At the meeting, Denise arrived with a folder of her own, smiling like she already knew she'd win. She claimed I'd verbally agreed to boat use months ago and that my grief was clouding my memory. My daughter stood up, voice trembling but steady, and read her own account of guests ignoring her pleas. Denise interrupted her, calling her a confused teenager who misunderstood adult arrangements between neighbors and friends. I stayed calm and asked one simple question. Where exactly was the signed authorization form she claimed I gave her? She produced the forged sheet. My daughter immediately said, "That's not Dad's handwriting. I've seen his signature my whole life." An older board member, Mr. Ruiz, squinted at the paper and asked why the date matched my mother's funeral. Denise's face flickered, just for a second, before she recovered and blamed a clerical mix-up with the marina office. I mentioned the swim ladder damage, the missing custom cushions, and the unpaid insurance claim filed under her name. She pivoted fast, accusing me of neglecting community obligations by refusing board members reasonable access to shared marina space. The room went quiet. Several neighbors exchanged looks, clearly remembering their own denied requests for far smaller favors. Denise then announced she'd propose a new bylaw requiring boat owners to allow HOA events for community morale. I realized this wasn't about one party. She wanted my boat permanently available, and my objection was just an obstacle. I asked the board to pull the marina's security camera footage from that weekend before any vote happened. Denise objected loudly, insisting cameras were for safety, not surveillance, and that pulling footage violated guest privacy rights. Mr. Ruiz, unmoved, said the footage belonged to the HOA and could be reviewed by any dues-paying member. The meeting adjourned without a vote. Denise left first, but I noticed her whispering urgently to the marina dockhand. That night, the marina's camera system mysteriously malfunctioned, erasing footage from exactly the weekend of the party. Priya, though, had been filming from her balcony the entire time, catching Denise directing guests onto my boat herself. My daughter remembered something too. A man at the party wearing a Coast Guard auxiliary jacket, taking photos of the crowd. I tracked him down through a mutual friend. He confirmed he'd flagged the overcrowded vessel to active duty colleagues that same night. Turns out the Coast Guard stop wasn't random. My boat had already been reported once, weeks earlier, for the same reason. The man driving that night, cited by name in the Coast Guard report, was Denise's own son-in-law. He'd been driving my boat, unlicensed, with 12 people aboard and 0 life jackets visible anywhere on deck. The citation listed the registered owner under operator negligence, meaning I could lose my captain's license over her party. I requested the full Coast Guard incident report and brought it, along with Priya's video, to the follow-up hearing. The board reconvened, this time with the full membership invited after word of the malfunctioning cameras spread fast. I played Priya's footage, Denise clearly waving guests aboard, handing out drinks, telling her son-in-law to take it out further. Gasps rippled through the room. Several neighbors realized their own kids had been aboard an overcrowded, uninsured vessel that night. I then read the Coast Guard citation aloud, naming Denise's son-in-law as the unlicensed operator with a documented near injury. Denise stood, insisting the video was taken out of context and that I was smearing her reputation out of grief. My daughter calmly played a voicemail Denise left the marina office, requesting the spare key for Mark's boat. He won't mind. The room fell dead silent. Even her closest allies on the board looked away, unable to meet her eyes. Mr. Ruiz asked flatly if she'd forged the vessel use form. Denise's silence answered the question better than words could. A neighbor near the back stood and admitted Denise had asked him to falsely claim I'd verbally approved the party. He said he refused, but she'd used his name in emails anyway, hoping nobody would check the timeline closely. The board voted unanimously to remove Denise as president, citing forgery, unauthorized property use, and endangerment of a minor. I filed a police report for forgery and property damage, alongside a civil claim for repairs and my elevated premiums. The marina, embarrassed by the camera malfunction, reviewed backup cloud storage and recovered footage confirming everything Priya had captured. Denise's own insurance refused to cover the Coast Guard citation, since she'd falsely listed herself as the boat's registered operator. 3 months later, Denise moved out of the HOA entirely, her for sale sign up before the forgery case even closed. My daughter got her ladder replaced, my premiums dropped back down, and Second Chance finally got a proper lock. Last weekend, my daughter and I took Second Chance out alone. Just us. Engine humming. Water calm. Boat finally. Truly ours again.